Hello dear students, myself Dr. Sachin Gurule, Assistant Professor from Department of Zoology, KTHM College, Nasik. In the previous video of the subject Animal Diversity Third of chapter number 4, that is the introduction to the superclass Pisces, we have learned the silent features of superclass Pisces. And in this lecture, we are going to start with the classification of superclass Pisces and going to learn the first class belongs to the superclass Pisces, that is the Chondrichthyes. The Chondrichthyes are also referred as the Elasmo branch. So let's see. So first of all, what are the fishes? We have already learned the superclass Pisces includes the true fishes, and all these fishes are belongs to that Pisces are dominating aquatic vertebrates of modern world. And these organisms are true jawed vertebrates. They are provided with the fins for the swimming and gills for the respiration, which are the typical characteristic features of the Pisces, so called as the fishes. Now these organisms they are found into the aquatic environment, which is ranging from the seas, oceans, river, lakes, dam, or almost every place where there is a presence of water. So that we have already learned into the previous lecture. So today we are going to start with the classification of the superclass Pisces. So whatever earlier best known scheme of classification for the Pisces was provided by the scientist Berg in 1940, wherein he has recognized the organism belongs to that Pisces into the 7 classes. And these 7 classes are further divisible into the 3 classes which are the extinct one and 4 classes which are the instinct organism, means which are the living fishes. And these 7 classes are the Pterichthys, Coccosti, then Acanthodi, which are the extinct classes. That is 3 classes belongs to that Pisces, and the another 4 which are the extinct one that includes the Elasmobranchi, Holocephali, Dipnoi, and Telostomi. So in this way, whatever first or the earlier best known scheme of classification for that Pisces is provided by the Berg in 1940. But after that, on the basis of type of endoskeleton present among the fishes, the scientist Romer in 1959 have grouped the fishes into the 2 subclasses, and these 2 subclasses are referred as the Chondrichthyes and the Osteichthyes. Chondrichthyes are also known as the cartilaginous fishes, being their endoskeleton is made up of the cartilaginous material, and the second class is the Osteichthyes, which includes the fishes which are having the endoskeleton in the form of bones. So Romer actually what he done, he putted that Elasmobranchi and Holocephali class, which is recognized by the Berg, and he combined this Elasmobranchi and Holocephali into the single class, which are provided with a cartilaginous endoskeleton as the Chondrichthyes. And secondly, the class Dipnoi and the Telostomi, which is recognized by the Berg, is merged by the Romer according to the presence of bony endoskeleton into the class known as the Osteichthyes. So whatever classification which is given by the Romer is about only the instinct fishes, which are the living fishes. So in according to the Romer, there are only 2 classes, Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes. But later on, Parker and Haswell in 1960 have further combined all the extinct jawed fishes under a single class which is known as the Placodermi. So this Placodermi is the class of the extinct fishes, while the Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes, these are the classes of the instinct fishes. So in this way, according to the well accepted classification system for a superclass Pisces, this superclass Pisces is divisible into the three classes. Placodermy, which includes all extinct jawed fishes, and the second one is a chondrichthyes, contains a cartilaginous fishes or is also referred as elasmobranch, and the third one is a ostrichthyes, which includes the bony fishes. So this is a wild accepted classification for that superclass Pisces. So for your syllabus, we are going to learn only the two classes, that is chondrichthyes and ostrichthyes, as there is no inclusion of the placodermy as a class belongs to the Pisces for your syllabus. So today we are going to start with the chondrichthyes. So let's see the silent features of the chondrichthyes or the elasmobranch. Now that word chondrichthyes is Greek word, is coming from the Greek origin, and it is derived from the word that is chondros, and the meaning of chondros is cartilage, and ichthyos means the fish, literally refers to the cartilaginous fishes. So those fishes which contains the endoskeleton in the form of cartilaginous material are referred as the chondrichthyes. So this is the etymology behind that word chondrichthyes, and it is also known as the elasmobranch. Okay, so let's see the characteristic features. Now first of all the chondrichthyes are marine organism, and these are the predatory fishes. Predatory in the sense they are carnivore fishes feeding on the other organism, including the other invertebrate organism as well as the whatever vertebrates, small vertebrates present into the water, particularly the marine water. These organisms are the predators. Then most important characteristic feature, that is endoskeleton, is always cartilaginous and often calcified, and the notochord is a persistent one. So whatever notochord is there at the embryonic condition, it is persist into the adult stage also. The vertebrae are complete and the separate one, while the pectoral and pelvic girdle is always there. So pectoral girdle is located into the proximal part of the trunk region, while at the posterior part of the trunk region there is a presence of pelvic girdle. So both the girdles are always present among the chondrichthyes, that is the pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdles. The body is usually fusiform or the spindle shaped. So here in this diagram you can see the examples of few cartilaginous fishes where you can find that the body is somewhat fusiform and spindle shaped. Actually, the spindle shaped body is one of the characteristic feature of all the fishes. So chondrichthyes is also having that particular character. Then fins which are present, these fins are useful for obviously the swimming, and these fins are supported by the fin rays. So they have the muscular and powerful tail which is provided with a characteristic heterocircle kind of the caudal fin. So here in this diagram you can see, so this is a tail fin. Here you can see the epicaudal lobe is very small and hypocaudal lobe is well developed. If the epicaudal lobe and hypocaudal lobe, they are differ in the size and shape, at that time such a kind of the tail fin or the caudal fin is referred as heterocircle caudal fin. So among the chondrichthyes fishes, the tail fin is always having the dissimilar epicaudal lobe and hypocaudal lobe, and this kind of the caudal fin we call as the heterocircle kind of the caudal fin. So they are characterized by that heterocircle caudal fin. Then the next character, skin of all the chondrichthyes is covered either with a placoid scale or it is naked. means whatever scales which are the exoskeletal part of this organism is in the form of placoid scales. So here you can see the structure of the placoid scale. It consists of the trident spine and the basal plate. So here the actual photograph of the placoid scale, you can see the basal, this is a rhomboidal plate and the upper trident spine is there. Now this kind of the scale is referred as a placoid scale, which is present among the chondric thighs. Either this placoid scale is present, or if the placoid scale are absent, then the scale is naked, that is without any scales. So this is again a characteristic feature. The next character, there are 5 to 7 pairs of gill slits are there, and they are always naked. Naked in the sense, in the previous lecture we have seen the fishes, they has a gills for the purpose of respiration and which opens outside the body with the help of gill slits, and their number is also variable from 5 to 7 pair in a different fishes. But in some fishes, these gill slits are covered with the help of a structure which is known as the operculum. And in other fishes, these gill slits are naked one, that is without operculum. So here in this diagram you can see the example is a shark, which is a chondric thighs fish. You can see the gills are the naked one, means there is no operculum. So operculum is absent. Now this is because these are the predatory fishes, and actually the operculum is a structure which is responsible for imparting a protection to the gill slits, because there are many different kinds of the organism which are present into the seas, which are the blood suckers. For example, if you see the fish like a mexin, or which are also referred as a hugfish, these fishes are get entangled with that of the gill slits of the other animals, and they sucks the blood, and for giving the protection usually the operculum is there. But as these organism like a shark, they are the topmost predator of the seas, so they do not require such a kind of the protection from such a mixin or the hugfish, and hence the operculum is absent and their gill slits are the naked one. Then the first gill slits, it becomes a spiracle which opens just behind the eyes. So here you can see that this is an eye, and this one is the first gill slit which is acting as the spiracle. So this is again a characteristic feature. The next character about the air bladder or the lungs are always absent. Now in the previous lecture we have already learned the air bladder or swim bladder is present in most of the fishes, which is useful for providing the buoyancy to the fishes. But among the chondric thighs, that air bladder, so called as a swim bladder, as well as lungs, they are always absent. So there is no air bladder, no swim bladder. Then the next characteristic, a large and crescentic mouth opening is present at a ventral side. So in this diagram you can see, so this is the ventral view of the head of the shark, or so called as Scalodon, and you can able to see, so this is a mouth opening which is a crescentic mouth opening which is present at the ventral side, and that are provided with a sharp teeth. So here you can see the teeth are present on the jaws. Then regarding the alimentary canal, the alimentary canal of this organism is highly developed or is a complete one. And the characteristic feature of this alimentary canal, that is the chondric thighs usually having a somewhat J-shaped stomach. So this is the, you can follow the pointer in this diagram. So this is a structure which is known as a stomach. So stomach is broadly categorized into the two parts, the sac-like known as a cardiac stomach, and the tubular or the pipe-like part is known as a pyloric stomach. So if you see the overall shape of the whole stomach, that is cardiac and pyloric, it is somewhat J-shaped. So which is a characteristic feature of again the chondric thighs fishes or the elasmo branch. While If you see the intestine, the length of the intestine is a short one, and these intestines are provided with a internal folds which is referred as a scrotal wall, which is useful for increasing the absorptive area of the intestine. Now obviously, as the chondrichthyes are the carnivorous fishes, being a rule, this carnivore organism always provided with a short intestine. But if the organism is herbivore, at that time usually the length of intestine is a very large. But as all the chondrichthyes, they are carnivorous fishes, hence the length of the intestine is a short in all elasmobranch or the chondrichthyes fishes. Then the cloaca is a common chamber for the two system, that is the digestive system as well as urinogenital system. So here in this diagram you can see, so this is a cloacal chamber, and this cloacal chamber contains a opening from a digestive system and the urinogenital system. So this chamber is a common chamber for the digestive, urinary and the reproductive system, which is again a characteristic feature. So this is about the digestive system. Then the next characteristic feature regarding the nervous system, that is brain. Now the brain bears a large olfactory lobes and the cerebrum. So here in this diagram you can see, so this first part is referred as a forebrain, and that forebrain contains a large olfactory sacs or the olfactory lobes and the large cerebrum, but they contains a small optic lobe. So here in this diagram you cannot able to see the optic lobe because that optic lobes are covered with the help of cerebellum from the dorsal side, as this optic lobe taking a position into the middle region as is a part of the midbrain, and it is distinct from the ventral side. So these optic lobes are smaller, and cerebellum is also smaller as compared to the cerebrum, which is the part of the hindbrain. So brain is well developed, forebrain is dominating and is having a large size containing a olfactory lobes and the cerebrum, while they contains a small sized optic lobes as well as cerebellum. Optic lobe is a part of midbrain and cerebellum is a part of the hindbrain. Then there are 10 pairs of the cranial nerves are there. The cranial nerves in the sense, whatever nerves which are directly originating from the stem of the brain, and they are innervating into the different organs into the head region or the cephalic region. Such a nerves are referred as the cranial nerves. And these chondrichthyes, they contains such a 10 pairs of cranial nerves innervating into the different organ, and they are arising from the brain. Then the next characteristic feature, that is kidneys are the ophistonephric kidneys, and the nitrogenous waste is there is in the form of urea. So these are the ureotelic organism. Then these chondrichthyes, they are provided with a well developed hepatic portal system as well as renal portal system, which is a characteristic one. The hepatic portal system in the sense, the part of circulatory system which is coming from the liver, and the renal portal in the sense the veins which are originating from the kidneys. Okay, so they represent both the portal system, that is hepatic portal system as well as renal portal system are present in the chondrichthyes, so called as the elasmobranch. Then the next characteristic feature, the male possesses a copulatory organ which is known as a claspers that are arises from the inner side of the pelvic fin. So in this diagram you can see, so this is a male scoliton and this one is a female scoliton. If you see the male, so this is a pelvic fin, and if you see the inner border of the pelvic fin, there is a some rod like copulatory organ is there, which is referred as a claspers. So claspers are only present into the male. So this is a sexual dimorphic character from which you can able to identify the male and female. So here she is a female and same again is a pelvic fin, but at the inner margin of the pelvic fin you cannot able to see such a copulatory organ, so which is present only in the male, which is known as the claspers. And these claspers are used for the transferring the sperm into the female genital tract, as the fertilization is internal in case of this chondrichthyes in most of the cases. Sometimes it is also the external, but for the purpose of transferring the gametes into the female genital tract, this clasper is useful. Then the male genital duct is connected to the anterior part of the kidney. So here in this diagram you can see the urinogenital system of the male, and these are the kidneys and these one are the testes. So if you see some ducts which are arising from the testes, such as a vasa efferentia and the vas deferens, these ducts are connected with the anterior part of the kidney. So this is the anterior part of the kidney. Here you can see the label also. So this is the anterior part. So these ducts are connected with the anterior part of the kidney. But if you see the female genital system or the urinogenital system, the oviducts are not connected to the ovaries. Then the next characteristic feature, the ovum or the eggs are usually produced in a few numbers, as most of the condition they are showing a viviparity, that is their young ones are developed within a body of females only, and they giving a birth to their young ones, and hence the number of egg produced is fewer, but they are provided with a huge amount of or the much amount of the yolk. Then fertilization is always internal. For that purpose, male possesses a copulatory organ known as the clasper, as we have already discussed, and the cleavage is the meroblastic type. Now, what is meroblastic cleavage? If you see, so this diagram, it representing a two kinds of cleavage, holoblastic cleavage and meroblastic cleavage. In the holoblastic cleavage, the whole zygote is completely divided to form a equal size cells. When the cells are completely divided, such a cleavage is referred as a holoblastic cleavage. But here in the second diagram you can see, so this is a zygote. The upper one is a animal pole and the lower one is known as a vegetal pole. So there is a disc, and at that disc only whatever cells are there, these cells are divided at only the discal at only the disc which is present at the animal pole, and this kind of the cleavage is referred as discoidal meroblastic cleavage. This discoidal meroblastic cleavage is very common among the fishes, where the cleavage is occurs only into the superficial part, and superficial part of the egg is only giving to the formation of the embryo, as the egg usually contains a huge yolk material. So here the same diagram you can see in the below pictures also, only the superficial disc is going to divide into the cell and which is going to form the embryo. So while the posterior, that is vegetal pole, it contains the yolk material, and such a kind of the cleavage we call as the meroblastic cleavage. So this is, they contains a meroblastic cleavage. Then development is internal in case of the viviparous forms. Viviparous in the sense those organisms which directly give to the birth to their young ones. For example, so this is a diagram of shark, female shark, and you can see the three individual baby sharks are there in her uterus. So showing a viviparous condition. But those are showing the oviparity. In these cases, the development is the external one in the egg cases, and these are present into the oviparous forms of the chondrichthyes fishes. So these are the characteristic features or the silent features of the class chondrichthyes, or also known as the elasmobranch. Now if you see the examples, a few examples of the chondrichthyes are shown in this slide. So first example is Escalodon, which is commonly known as the dogfish or Indian shark. Then second example is a spirna. The spirna is referred as the hammer-headed shark because if you see the head of this shark is resembles with that of the hammer, hence it is referred as a hammer-headed shark. Then this is a trigon, which is commonly known as the stingray. Then the priestis, which is commonly known as a sawfish because if you see the snout region, it contains a spine-like structures on their snout resembling a saw, hence is referred as a sawfish. Then another example is the torpedo. This torpedo is also referred as the electric ray, is very much resembles with that of the stingray but having some differences, which is referred as the electric ray. And the another one is the chimera, that is also known as the ghost shark, or it is also referred as the ratfish or the rabbit fish. So these are the few examples belongs to the class chondrichthyes. So among these two examples, we are going to discuss a few characters of two examples. Let's see first of all the Scalodon, which is commonly known as the Indian shark or the dogfish. So this is a marine fish found in all parts of the seas. It is a carnivorous fish and predaceous and scavenger, feeding on the small organisms like crabs, lobster, worms and other small fishes. Now these organisms are very active swimmer, and the Scalodon is also known as a dogfish, so called because it has highly developed sense of smell like that of the dog, and this power of smell enables them to find the food very easily. If you see the body, usually divisible into the head, trunk and the tail, and color the dark gray from the dorsolateral surface while it is pale white from the ventral surface. Then the body surface is rough due to the presence of the placoid scales, and the head is a dorso-ventrally flat, while the trunk is the largest part of the body, which starts with the gill slits and end into the pelvic fin where the cloacal aperture is there. So this middle region is referred as the trunk and the terminal portion is referred as the tail. Now trunk region contains a first median dorsal fin and the paired pectoral as well as pelvic fin. So these are the pectoral fin in the pectoral region and these are the pelvic fin in the pelvic region, which are located on the trunk region, while the tail is long, muscular and it contains a second dorsal fin. Then ventral is also referred as a alal fin and the heterocercal kind of the tail fin. Now this Scalodon is a unisexual, that is sexes are separate, and the male, in case of male, the pelvic fins are provided with a copulatory organ known as the clasper. So these are the few features of the example Scalodon. And the second example is the chimera, or it is also referred as the hydrologus, which is commonly known as the ghost shark, is also referred as a ratfish or the king of the herrings. Now chimera is the marine fish living into the temperate oceans at the greater depth of 350 to 2200 meters. It occurs into the Atlantic and Mediterranean seas and they feeds on the small fishes, invertebrates and the seaweeds also. So they are in the habit of pursuing the souls of herrings, and hence the chimera is commonly known by many names such as the ghost shark, ratfish, because of the caudal fin is prolonged into the rat-like tapering filament. So here in this diagram we can see the long filament of the tail is present, which is resembling the tail of the rat, hence it is also referred as the ratfish. Now it is also known as the king of herrings is because they are habitual to swim along with the herrings or the group of the herrings. The body is divisible into the head, trunk and the tail region, which is body is elongated, somewhat shark-like, and head is large with a blunt conical snout. So you can see here the snout is somewhat the blunt. Then skin is naked with the characteristic open groove lodging a lateral line system. So here you can see the grooves are there which are connected with the lateral line system. Then mouth and nostril lies on the ventral side. So obviously all the condyctites they are provided with a mouth which is located at the ventral side, and the external gill slits are covered with the fleshy boneless skin flap which are known as the operculum. So here you can see the operculum also, which is a flap covering the gill slits. Then they are provided with a larger pectoral and the pelvic fin and small ventral fin also. The caudal fin consists of nearly equal sized dorsal and ventral lobes. So these are the few characteristic features of this fish, that is chimera. So unique characteristic is again the male has frontal or cephalic clasper in addition to the usual pelvic clasper. Means in addition to the pelvic claspers, they are provided with a frontal claspers also. Means they contains a two claspers which is located, usual clasper is located at the pelvic region, and in addition it also contains another clasper which is referred as a frontal clasper, which is again the characteristic feature of this fish known as the chimera. So this is about the few characteristic with the of that chimera, and with this we have completed the first class, that is chondrichthyes are also referred as the elasmobranch. Thank you very much.